Welcome back to episode 4 of the Pure Degeneracy podcast here on YouTube. My name is Adam Glick. I'm joined by Ethan Weingart. As always, we're here for another week of college football and NFL betting picks here on the Pure Degeneracy. Ethan, how are we doing on this fine Thursday afternoon?
That's a loaded question for me. I'm still kind of rebounding from my horrible week last week. There's no better way to say it. I shit the bed. I went back and I was kind of listening to my takes on things. And I think that my reasoning for all of my picks was sound, but literally just nothing went my way. So I'm looking forward to trying to get things back on track and that's what we posted on our Instagram. What do degenerates do? You don't give up, you rebound. So I'm looking forward to trying to rebound and looking forward to getting it this week started off strong with Thursday night football.
Yeah, and we'll get back to the well. We'll have all the primetime NFL games. We'll have the big time college football games as we always do. And, we just get back to work. We just try to find winners for you. And, sometimes it doesn't work out, sometimes it does. And hopefully, in the long run, we will be profitable and we will be victorious and will make you some extra money on the side as well. But before we get right into Thursday Night Football, Ethan, very important for the viewing audience. Hit that like and subscribe button here on YouTube. It definitely helps the algorithm, helps us as well. And finally, was able to do it. In the description below on the video, we have our link to our Instagram and our TikTok. Please go follow those social media channels. We have a good following on there. We hope to grow it. We appreciate everyone's support. With
And
that,
that's where we're posting all of our picks that cash. Even
Mhm.
though I have not been doing well, really just this past week did not do so well. Mr. Adam Glick has been on fire. His posts are his picks are there. Check marks. We even though tough week last week, but we still hit some of them. We still hit some of them. So
Yeah.
check out our social media for everything that we've been hitting. Yeah.
And we want to be transparent with you, so that's why we have those videos of us actually making those picks in real time before those games happen to show that we're just not on here saying that we hit every pick. We'll be honest with you, we miss a lot, but guess what? We're going to show you when we do hit them, and hopefully we'll continue to get better and better each week and moving forward. With that, Ethan, we got a very interesting game of mid-Thursday night football. I think the best way to describe tonight's game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New Orleans Saints. And I will share my screen here for the Draft Kings. But first, let's go to Thursday Night Football before we get into that big time game in college. These two teams, up and down, also concerns about, I think, Trevor Lawrence's ankle coming into this game. If he's going to play the entire game, is he going to be mobile in the pocket? We'll see. That's definitely a big factor. The line, Saints -2, over under a 40.5. What are your initial thoughts going into this Thursday night football game?
Well, whether or not Trevor Lawrence plays is the big if for me because I think that I'm actually just to start off, I think I'm probably going to stay away from this game betting wise because if Trevor Lawrence plays, I do think the Jags can pull off a win here. I think they're talented enough on both sides of the ball, but obviously Trevor Lawrence is a huge part of that. So I think that we'll just have, for me, I'm just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, and for me, I lean the Saints, especially if Lawrence is not fully ready to go. I do think I've been watching SportsCenter earlier today. He is probably going to start this game, but I don't know how, you know, prepared and ready he is going to be. And they said that he was wearing some kind of brace that he's never experienced before all week in practice. I just don't know if he's going to be his true self today on the road in New Orleans. Short week. Jacksonville's been kind of an up and down team. I'm favoring the Saints in this spot. Personally, I really like this number of -2 at decent odds here at -112 on DraftKings of the New Orleans Saints. It's probably going to be an official play for me. I'm not going to touch any touchdown scores in this game because I'm not so sure there's going to be a lot of offense in this game, even though the over-under is around 40.5 right now. But the one thing, Ethan, that I do want to give an official play, and I'll do New Orleans Saints -2 as an official play as well. But the one thing, knock on wood, that has been hitting for me on these Thursday night games when we've done this show is my two-team teasers on Thursday
Yeah,
night.
you're
Those have been
absolutely
hitting, so we're gonna go back to the well there. And because the Saints are favored, I don't like to tease through 0, so we're not gonna do that. So we're gonna actually tease the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're gonna do a 7-point teaser, not a 6. We're gonna do 7. So we're gonna get Jacksonville up to +9, and we're gonna get the over/under up to 47.5. So under 47.5 and Jags +9 as a two-team teaser. I think the game will be close. I think it will
right.
be somewhat low scoring. We've seen a lot of those kind of games in prime time. Bills
Mhm,
Giants last week, even the Cowboys
mhm.
Chargers was relatively low scoring. So those are my two official plays tonight. Before we move on with this game, Ethan, any players that you might like in this game or targeting? You might not bet it, but who you think is going to have a good game?
Yeah, the biggest player of interest that I have him on 2 out of my 3 fantasy teams is Trevor Etienne. He's I feel like he's been good all season, but these past couple of games, he's really been playing at a very high level. I just don't know because of the Saints' run defense. I don't really know how that's going to look, but I will be definitely watching him tonight.
Yeah, he's definitely a big player,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be tough going up against that defense, as you mentioned, but if Lawrence is not fully 100%, you gotta expect ETN to get a bulk of the carries tonight, a lot
Mhm.
of action, maybe some short dump-off passes as
Sure.
well. Definitely a player that if you're looking at betting props, which we're all for here on the Pure Degeneracy, I would definitely target ETN as a player. No official plays, I know I like to give touchdown scores, but those are my two official ones, the two-team teaser with the Jags and the under, and the Saints -2. If we could hit both, I would really love it. If we could find that little in-between number, Saints win by like 6 points, I would love it. We'll see how it goes. But that's Thursday Night Football, Battle of Mids. A lot of these primetime games, we'll be honest with you guys, haven't been that great. They really haven't. But they are prime time. It's the only game on the slate, which means we have to bet it. That
Yeah.
is part of why we do this show. We got to bet it. With that, we move into college football. And the biggest game of the season probably so far is taking place Fox noon Saturday kickoff bright and early on the West Coast is the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Penn State Nittany Lions battle of Big Ten West. These two teams national championship aspirations. A huge game. In my opinion, biggest game of the season. Ohio
Mhm.
State -4.5 over under of 45. Drew Aller, quarterback for Penn State, versus Kyle McCord, quarterback for Ohio State.
Mhm.
Who is going to win this game? This is a really tough game for me, Ethan, to bet on. I want to get your thoughts on who do you like going into this one. This game is also will be played in Ohio State.
Yeah, I think that it's also a tough game to bet on, but I think I probably will make an official play here with Ohio State money line. I think that I tend to lean on the experience and the history of certain teams. Penn State, I feel like since I've known Penn State, they've been a good team, but not the championship team yet. I think Ohio State is always there. So I will look for Ryan Day to pull it out, and I'll make an official play here with Ohio State money line.
Okay, I like the play. I do think Ohio State wins this game. It's tough for me to back either side. One key aspect that I know for sure is Penn State this year is undefeated ATS against the spread. They have not they've covered every single game they've played, even with some of these big spreads. They played UMass last week. I call them UMass. They won by about 1,000 points. They covered that.
Mm.
Um, they seem to know the spread. These kids, they might not be kids on the sports books because they've been good. I kind of favor Penn State to keep it close, but I'm not confident they're going to win this game, especially at Ohio State as a brutal environment. And Ohio State, as you said, Ethan, Ohio State is that championship class team of recently, and Penn State's been right there, but they haven't been able to really get over the hump and compete for a national championship. So I do like your take there. I'm going to make one official play, just one. It's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr., as you can see on the screen. I'll scroll down just a little bit. Anytime touchdown scorer. I do think he finds the end zone. That is my one and only official play on this game. I think he gets in the end zone. He is Ohio State's big playmaker, and if they're going to win at home, you got to think he's finding his way into the end zone.
Yeah.
So it's my
Again, don't really think I can't, kind of like last week with your pick with Derrick Henry. Like it's just, to me, seems like a pretty obvious pick. He's the superstar of superstars. So you would hope that they can definitely get him in the end zone.
Yeah, and the one thing I would say, just if you're looking at a touchdown score and you're confident that team is going to win the game, you got to think their best player, best playmaker is going to get in the end zone. It's always a good bet. That's why we hit on Derrick Henry last week. So we'll trust Marvin Harrison to get in to the end zone this week. Moving on to our next game, as I scroll here, we're going to have the Alabama Crimson Tide taking on the Tennessee Volunteers. In Alabama, very, very weird team, but quietly still in the college football playoff conversation because they've won every game since they lost week 2 to Texas. Hasn't looked pretty. Last week was disgusting, and they've held on at the dear end against a not a good Arkansas team at home, won by
Mhm.
3 points. Now they're getting 8.5-point favorites against Tennessee, who's been all kinds of topsy-turvy this year. They've had problems within the offense, line of scrimmage, defensively. They've been just up and down, really tough team to read. They're getting 8.5 on the road against Alabama, but this is a big game for both teams. Ranked SEC battle. They want to both go to a conference championship. What are your thoughts, Alabama, Tennessee?
I think I'm gonna go again, official play with the more experienced team in Alabama. I'll remember the game that they played last year for a long time because Jalen Hyatt just went berserk, and Hidden Hooker was also very good. However, I think that loss is probably very sour in Alabama's minds because that basically ruined their playoff chances last year. And I think that I'm going to make an official play right now. Alabama money line. I think that Jalen Miller, I think, we were talking about him at the beginning of the season. If he, I think that the more experience he gets, the better, especially versus Ole Miss. I think he looked a lot better, definitely, than he did against Texas. So I think that I'm going to roll with him and Tennessee. I mean, Alabama. Sorry. Official play
No,
right now. Alabama.
okay.
Money line.
And this is what I'm going to do with this. I like your Alabama money line. I think there is no way they lose this game at home. They're the class of the SEC with them in Georgia. They know how to get it done, even though has not been the most pretty of times occasionally this season. But I think they win this game. Tennessee is not the same Tennessee team as of last year, not even close. Watched them a few times against Florida and some other teams. I think Alabama wins, but because of the minus 340 price tag of the money line, I'm going to pair it with a two-team parlay with the over 47.5. I know the offense has not been really getting going for Alabama, but I think they're going to have a lot of fun and a lot of open windows in the secondary against a really weak Tennessee team. And I just don't think Tennessee wins this game, and I would like the better value of putting those two together. So minus 340 parlayed with the minus 110 over 47.5. So Alabama needs to win, and we need 48 or more points scored
Mm-hmm.
in that game. Two-team parlay. That's my only official play that I'll do in this game. Moving on to another really good football game. We have, as I keep scrolling, I think we go to the night window now, which we do. We have the Duke University and Florida State in primetime SEC battle. 14.5. There are reports Riley Leonard, Duke's quarterback, will be back for this game, which is crucial. Duke wants any chance of upsetting Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
14.5. Both these teams have looked really good when healthy, and they've also looked pretty bad at times. But Florida State, Ethan, we know them well. Being Texas fans, one of those teams in the college football playoff conversation, undefeated, 2.5 or 2 touchdown favorites in this game. You
Mm-hmm.
think they take care of business against Duke?
Yeah, I do, but let me see the money line. Yeah, I don't think it's really worth it to try. I like my college football money lines. I don't really think I'm going to take it here, but I do expect Florida State to get it done versus Duke. I think the Jordan Travis is a very, very high caliber player. and I expect him to keep rolling.
I agree. He's been awesome with his legs and his arm.
Hmm.
Offense has been rolling, and I think they're going to roll once again. I'm going to go with the over 50 in this game. Florida State and Duke over 50. It's my only official play. I I favor Duke to cover, but I'm not confident on the road and how healthy and ready to go Leonard will be. I think Duke is a top 10, 15 team with Leonard healthy. He'll be an NFL pick next year, one of the highest quarterbacks picked. But I don't know his status really going into this game. So I'll take the over. Florida State's offense has been rolling, and they will score points against Duke. I know Duke has a pretty good defense, but in Florida State under the lights, give me some points over 50, Florida State and Duke. We move on to another very good game in prime time. We have, did we say we're going to do this game? Clemson, Miami? Can't remember. We're going
Let's
to,
do it.
no, let's do it. Okay. We'll do Clemson, Miami, and we're going to skip actually USC in Utah
Okay,
because, USC screwed us last week. So we're
we
not
did.
doing you anymore.
That's fine.
Clemson, Miami. This is a big game in the ACC. I hit on the over in this Miami North Carolina game last week.
Mhm.
So feeling good about the Miami team. Clemson getting -3 against Miami at Miami. Both of these teams kind of backs against the wall game. Whoever loses is really in for a tough year and going to have to answer a lot of questions in the offseason. Whoever
Mhm.
wins this game, at least for the moment, keeps their season kind of on thin ice, but at least moving the train in the right direction. 3-point spread. Do you think Miami upsets them, Ethan?
I don't think I feel confident enough to bet on this game because, as you said, both teams have just been so wildly inconsistent on the wrong side of inconsistent. So I think that I'm probably going to stay away. But no, I think that again I'm going to go with the experience of Dabo Sweeney. I think that I'm going to not official play, but I do expect Clemson to beat this Miami team who's already facing a ton of questions from the debacle a couple of weeks ago, with the bad snap, right, with the bad clock management.
Yeah,
So
horrible clock management, and I'm all in on betting Clemson here -3. That's an official play. Miami, they had a chance last week against North Carolina, kept it close in the first half, chance to really write the script, change the narrative, and they just got killed in the second half
mhm,
against North Carolina. They gave up points left and right, and you lose that game a few weeks ago to Georgia Tech like that. It could go one of two ways. You lock back in as a team, or you go the other way. And I feel like Miami's leaning towards the wrong direction, and
mhm.
they are going to continue that even at home. They For a Power 5 team, especially a name like Miami, you look at their home games, that stadium is half full, if
Yeah,
that. They don't have a good
people
home
are not
environment.
happy. People are not happy.
They are not happy, and rightfully so. I think Clemson, despite some of their struggles, they are going to outclass Miami in this game. -3, official play for the Tigers. In our last college football game, now that our team is back in action, is going to be the Texas Longhorns versus the Houston Cougars, which is a big spread, but it's an
Mhm.
in-state rivalry. 23.5 over under of 61. Texas had the bye coming off a very disappointing loss to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Ethan, thoughts going into Texas Houston?
I expect Texas to win pretty comfortably. That is a huge line of -23.5, so I'm really 50-50 on if I want to take that or not. But I do, I would hope as a Texas fan that after the really bad loss 2 weeks ago, you would think and expect everyone wants to see Texas rebound. But I again, we've talked about it before with Texas. Inconsistency on our offense has kind of been our middle name against teams that you would expect us to crush. It's not always the case. So, um, last week, I mean, not last week versus OU 2 weeks ago. I don't necessarily think that the offense had issues. I feel like we just got outplayed. Like we got outcoached. I think they were ready for our offense. So I would like to see, our offense do really well kind of in response to that. But 23.5, I just don't know about that. I don't like betting those huge spreads like that, even though Houston is 3-3 and we could be a playoff team if all the cards fall into place. I don't know.
No, I get that 100%. And this game is really hard, as you mentioned, to bet either side, given the point total. It is a rivalry. It is at Houston. It's an afternoon game. I still expect a decent crowd. A lot of Texas fans, no doubt. But Houston's coming off a season where everything is going wrong. They're having an
Mhm.
awful, awful year. But they win an absurd, crazy game against West Virginia last week, where West Virginia on 4th and 10 or whatever from midfield with 30 seconds left, they get a bomb and they score a touchdown, and you're like, "Oh my god, Houston's gonna lose another game like this." But then Houston somehow goes down the field and they win on a Hail Mary
Yeah,
at the
that's
buzzer.
incredible.
Yeah, so it just, otherwise I would fully back Texas with the spread in this game, but
Mhm.
because of that, I'm more going for a prop in this game. I'm gonna go Mr. Mitchell over 48.5 receiving yards, and I'm also gonna go. I think Texas, as you talked about, Ethan, I think they're gonna have a really good bounce back game on the offensive side. I know it's a lot to ask for, but I'm going Quinn Ewers over 2.5 touchdown passes thrown. I think they're going to be able to move the ball on a very, very bad Houston defense. No problem all game long. So, two official plays, both props. Quinn Ewers over 2.5 touchdowns thrown, and Adonai Mitchell over 48.5 receiving yards.
So I was kind of looking at maybe doing some props as well because I honestly can't remember if I've bet on Texas before since we've done this podcast. I think I'm going to do a Jonathan Brooks anytime touchdown.
Okay.
I have been, I started off really hot with my touchdown picks, and then last week didn't do as well. Um, so I think I want to try and get back on track here with a Jonathan Brooks anytime touchdown.
I like that a lot, and I expect him to get a lot of action and a lot of carries against
Mm-hmm.
not a good line of scrimmage either for Houston, and that's been one of the strengths this year for Texas. And we've talked about it a few times on the show, Ethan. I love teams coming off buys. I think Sark may has reeled in the players after losing that heartbreaker, and there are some questionable decisions with the players and the coaches, some play calling down the stretch of that game, especially in the red zone, which they need to clean up. So I do think they get right against a team that is a perfect spot to get right against
Sure.
in the Cougars of
100%.
Houston.
100%.
Before we move on to the NFL and get to some of the games on the weekend slate, we're going to take a little break for a second, you know, pause ourselves, calm down. This show is called the Pure Degeneracy Podcast. So thought it would be nice, would be a little fun to talk about one thing that we've done recently that could qualify for being a degenerate. Ethan, if you have one, I'll start with you.
Are we talking betting or just like in life, degenerate things
You
in
could
life?
you could do whatever you want. The
So
the world is your oyster.
this is perfect because um, recently I have discovered for any poker players out there, we've talked about it briefly. I love my poker, big Texas Hold'em guy, I've been playing for several years. On America's Card Room, if anyone out there knows what America's Card Room is, I have discovered something beautiful and degenerate all in or fold pre-flop tournaments. I mean, not pre-flop, excuse me, regular tournaments, but it is all in or fold style. You heard it. Literally, your only options are to go all in or fold every single time. They are free to play. And a lot of times, if you are to somehow win one, you qualify for a big tournament. So last Sunday, through an all in or fold tournament, I qualified for a $500,000 prize pool tournament. Any degenerates out there, I highly encourage you take a look at ACR, get in on these all interfold games. They are super fun. They make you sweat. Pure degeneracy action from me. Glick, how about you?
I love it. I love it. A few not weeks ago, maybe a few months ago actually, and this has not worked. I do not advise you to do it. I think it's just donating money to the sports books, but and you know, how, Ethan, how I've done my NFL teasers of, getting teams up more, and you lose some odds and value, but you get more points in return. Well, there's an option where you could go the other way, and it's called a pleaser teaser. And that means
Pleaser teaser.
you give up points. So let's do an example. Let's do the Thursday night football game that we have in front of us,
Sure.
Saints and Jaguars. In a pleaser teaser, let's say we do a 6-point pleaser, the Saints would be bumped from -2 to -8, but the odds are massively juiced. And I mean, if you pair it with 2 or 3 teams that you're so confident in that they're just going to kill another team, I mean, you put $5 down, you win 100 on 3 teams, literally. And I have not hit one yet, but I've started to do them for fun and teams that I'm confident in. So if you're looking for an extra sweat, a big ROI return, and you're a degen like us, guess what? Pleaser teasers might be the way to go, especially in football or basketball if you're looking to get in on teaser action and not be as conservative. You really want to be a go-getter. So that's my degenerate sports bet that I've started to place
Love
here
it.
and there just to get an extra sweat in.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with getting an extra sweat. It's why we come back. It's why the betting always returns. That's what you
Exactly.
live for.
Yeah, we live for the winning as much as we hate the losing. The winning is better.
Mm.
So, with that, took a nice break. We had some laughs. We had some fun. Let's get back into the NFL slate. We talked about the Thursday night game. A lot of teams are on buys this week. If people haven't looked at the schedule, a lot of teams on buys, not a ton of games to talk about. So we're gonna do one game from the early slate because really that's really the best game that we have in front of us. We'll do one game from the afternoon slate, and then obviously we'll do Sunday night football and Monday night football. Always doing primetime games on the show because when there's only one game on, you gotta watch, you gotta bet. With that, Ravens, Lions. Who would have thought? Lions tied for the best record in the NFL, getting 3 points plus 3 against a Ravens team that has been up and down this year. They did win in London against the Titans last week. Tucker had not 1, not 2, blah blah blah. He had 6 made, or 5, I think, actually made field goals in that game.
Yeah.
He was on fire, and the Ravens were able to win. 3-point favorites at home against the Lions. Ethan, thoughts going into the big game for both of these teams?
I agree. And I think I'm going to take the upset here. I don't even know if you'd call it an upset because the line is so close, but I think I'm going to take the Lions money line to beat the Ravens here. I am a huge fan of the Lions. You know, they are anymore, clearly. I mean, they for years have been one of the NFL's consistently worst teams, but it seems like their head coach is kind of like their messiah. I mean, he's completely turned around the entire program. Everyone believes in him. Jared Goff, who would have thought, he's been playing so much better. You know, I thought that he was going to be kind of a pretty big bust for being a number 1 overall pick and how inconsistent he was, but he had a great year last year. He's having an even better year this year. We can talk about our touchdown anytime score superstar, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god. He's been playing great. Rushing attack has been very good. I'm going to make an official play here. Lions money line. I think that they can get this done.
I love it. Love the Lions. They've been a friend of us here on the show the last couple of weeks. We've hit on them big, and you talked about him, the sun god, Amon-Ra. The stars are shining again because I'm 2 for 2 hitting him to score. We're going to go again.
Wow.
Third time the charm. I'm praying. Amon-Ra, please bring this home for us. Plus 135 on him anytime touchdown. He has been huge for the Lions. He has been so
incredible.
clutch. He's been their top target in receiving, and he's found his way into the end zone a lot this year. I think he does it again. Good odds on him. You're getting around the same odds for the Lions money line. If you want to parlay, you want to just do both of them separately, all you have to do is hit one and you make some money. I love the Lions to win this game. I'm not going to officially bet them. I'm too weary of this game personally. I think it could go either way. But I do like Amon-Ra to get in to the end zone quickly. Let's see if I like any props with
I
yards.
I like a prop here.
Okay.
Touchdown score, another one. This will be my second of the day. I like Mark Andrews to get in there.
Okay.
Can never count him out. He scored the most touchdowns on the Ravens so far, and their receivers just, you know, I was really rooting for Odell, but you can only root for a player for so long before you just got to give up. And for me, it's going to be Mark Andrews anytime touchdown.
I like it. I like it a lot. And one prop that I'll do as well. I'm going to do Zay Flowers over 56.5 receiving yards at even odds here. So Zay Flowers, I think he's been the Ravens' top target this year. The passing game hasn't been great for the Ravens, but
Mhm,
in this game, I do think they're going to have to pass the ball against a good Lions defense and a
mhm,
game where we could see some points. I do think Zay Flowers gets in on the action with Lamar, who did not have a good game up there in London last week. I think he bounces back a little bit. So Zay
mhm.
Flowers over 56.5 receiving yards and Amon Ra to get in the end zone. Ethan with Mark Andrews, anytime Tud, and the Lions money line. Let's go 4 for 4, right?
I love it. I
Yeah.
need it. I want it. I need it. When you want it and you need it, it's the best combination out there.
Yeah, best combination out there. And we move to another big game, Chargers and Chiefs. And don't let the line fool you. I know Chiefs are getting favorites by -5.5, but if you follow the Chargers, like I grew up in San Diego, so I'm very familiar with this Charger team. Every game, and I mean every game, I don't care who they're playing. They could be playing a Pop Warner team filled of 12-year-olds, or they could be playing the Monstars. The game's coming down to the last second. It's
Yeah.
coming down to the last play, and
Yeah.
it's going to be within a field goal. And most of the time, they're going to lose. And that's what we had last week with the Cowboys. And
Mhm.
in the past, the last few years, the Chargers have played the Chiefs extremely well. They've won a few times, but they have kept it really close in almost every single appearance twice a year against the division rival. Chiefs have looked maybe not the part at times, but they do have a very good record. They've found ways to win. Give
Mhm.
them credit where credit's due. They haven't lost since week one, season opener against the Lions. 5.5 point favorites. Ethan, what are your thoughts going into this Chiefs Chargers game?
Um, yeah, I think that all of your points are very solid ones. I think that I'm going to stay away from this game because I think that a lot could happen or nothing could happen.
Yeah.
With the Chiefs, I talked about it last week. They have a fantastic offense, but in terms of both fantasy and betting, it's so inconsistent because really, besides for Travis Kelsey, you never really know who's going to get in the end zone. You never really know who's going to have a good game. It could be any one of their receivers. Like sometimes, Kadarius Toney, I think it was last week where he got in the end zone, which was great, but he only had like 9 receiving yards, and I'm pretty sure he was the only receiver who scored. I have Isaiah Pacheco, so I'm definitely going to be watching him. But this Chargers defense and really offense for that matter, they have a lot of stars on both sides of the ball. Same with the Chiefs. I think that we can definitely expect to see some points because both offenses have that spark where they could just go crazy. But I think it'll be a fun game, but I think I'm going to stay away from it though. Too tough
Okay.
to call, I think.
No, that's totally fair. And I don't know how to read this game either, honestly, Ethan, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna official play Chargers plus 5.5. I think they're going to keep this really close. I think they could even win, but I don't trust them to win a close game. I do think they lose by a field goal, so I like them plus 5.5 in this spot.
Okay.
I know they're coming off a little short of a week playing the Monday night game against the Cowboys, but there were some good things to like. They finally got Joshua Palmer into the mix a little bit. Receiving, Eckler's back and healthy. Didn't have the greatest of games, but I do think that he's going to have a good game in Kansas City. Chiefs, they're too much of a wild card, and one of the things is anytime Chiefs are decently sized favorites, they usually don't end up covering or they don't look pretty in doing so. They do win, but I do think Chargers plus 5.5 is a good move. I was thinking about touchdown scores in this game, but as you mentioned, it's too much of a wild card with the Chiefs. You just don't know what's going to happen on a week in and week out basis. So I'm going to stay
Mhm.
away with the touchdown scores.
Okay. I don't think there's any anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
I'm
If you
thinking
want to
about
add anything.
can we pull up real quick the Austin Eckler potentials? He's got over 49 and receiving over very interesting. Yeah, I think I'm going to stay away. He did play last week. He didn't look that good against a Cowboys defense that is very good. Um, the receiving line I kind of like though because I don't know. Final answer. I can't see myself being degenerate with anyone here. I think I'm staying away.
Okay, that's fair. To go off what you might have wanted to do, last against the Cowboys, he had 35 yards receiving. At the very end in the fourth quarter, he had 33 and he caught a 2-yard pass to get him over that line of 33
Mm,
and a half.
that's
So the line is the same as the Cowboys game of last
mhm,
week.
interesting.
Yeah. And now we go to our last 2 games of the NFL slate. In this game, finally, hopefully, we have a huge, big time game on Sunday Night Football. Eagles and Dolphins, both of these teams one loss. Eagles took a shocking upset defeat to the Jets last week. Dolphins continued to swim and flash their way to victory with the Panthers, despite being down 14-0. People were starting to panic in Miami, but they came back to earth and they murdered the Panthers. 2.5-point favorites, the Eagles are. So basically a pick 'em because it's in Philadelphia. And
Yeah.
if you know the sports betting lingo for anyone watching, usually in football, if you're a 2.5 to 3-point favorite, it means it's basically a pick 'em if the game was played on a neutral site. It gives you the home edge. So Eagles 2.5-point favorites, over under 52. Another tough game to bet on, but we're gonna do so. Ethan, Eagles or Dolphins in this one?
I I think that this game is even harder for me than the Chiefs versus Chargers. I love both teams. Fantasy implications on both teams. Well, I have A Chain and he is hurt. But I have Jalen Hurts. I have AJ Brown. Um, you know what? Should I ride with my guys? Should I do an anytime touchdown AJ Brown? I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to do that. I'll come back to some degeneracy. I'm a little scared to do it, but sometimes you got to take risks in life. You got to take risks in your betting and your degeneracy. I'm going to do an AJ Brown anytime touchdown.
Awesome. And right now, DraftKings doesn't have that anytime touchdown odds, but it's going to be plus odds, so good ROI return. So AJ Brown, anytime touchdown. I like it. Um, do I want to do anything in this game? This is tough for me. We're going to do a let's do another teaser. A little Glicks Picks teaser. 2 teams and a dream. Dolphins plus 8.5. So we'll do a 6-point teaser and the over of 46. I do think a lot of points will be scored in this game. I think Dolphins keep it close at the same time. So
Mm.
Dolphins plus 8.5 and over 46. 2-team teaser. Dolphins, riding with the Dolphins in this one. I don't love any props. Also, all props are still in lingo right now since the game's at Sunday night, so lines will be adjusted. I'm not touching anything. One player I will say that I would definitely try to target, Jalen Waddle. He's starting to really get going. Tyreek Hill came out of the game last week with a little injury. I know he came back in, but he's starting to be the Waddle that we all know and love. And as good
Mhm.
as Tyreek Hill has been, Tua's starting to really find his man Waddle, and he has had a really good production the last couple of weeks. I think he has another big night against the Eagles.
Do you know what I'm actually gonna do? Wait, can you pull up the props again?
Yes. Here's some receiving and rushing.
Yeah, stay right there. Uh,
Okay.
Mostert. Oh, it's 49. I'm honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards taking the under 49 rushing as an official play. I think that Mostert has been red hot. He's proving that he can get it done even without A Chain, who's on IR. But the Eagles' defense and their front line is very good. I don't know if I can see him getting the over 50, but at the same time, Mike McDaniels, his offense is just smoking hot all the time. Down 14-0 versus the Panthers, it didn't matter. I don't think he was rattled in the slightest. So you know what? I think that that was just all talk. I don't think I'm going to walk the walk there. But I think that he's going to be a player to watch. I think that he's going to be a huge factor in this game because, they have made it a huge point to have such a balanced attack, both receiving and rushing. So I'd like for him to be involved, but I think he's going to have some tough sledding versus the Eagles defense here.
Yeah, and that is fair. And I talked this man up, so I might as well make it an official play. Jalen Waddle over 59.5 receiving yards will be an official play. I think that he's going to have a big game, and if the Dolphins want to be victorious on Sunday Night Football, he's going to have to step up because all the Eagles receivers, or excuse me, their corners are going to be targeting Tyreek Hill to slow him down if they can. I think Jalen Waddle will be the guy that profits from that. So, two-team teaser and Jalen Waddle. Ethan, you got A.J. Brown finding his way into the end zone. Now, we move on to the last game that we'll talk about here on the NFL slate for this week. We got the Niners and the Vikings, and similar to the Eagles, Niners are coming off a shocking upset defeat to the Cleveland Browns, where Jake Moody, kicker from Michigan, missed a 41-yarder to have them escape, but he missed it. So the Niners coming off their first loss versus a Vikings team that's not healthy. Obviously, no Mr. Jettis, Justin Jefferson, and the Vikings did not look great, but they beat a really bad Bears team with Fields going down as well. 6.5-point dogs, but it is in Minnesota Monday Night Football. Ethan, you targeting some props, also some injury concerns with the Niners and
Yeah,
McCaffrey and Debo. This is a tough game.
yeah. I don't really care about the Vikings being at home. I am going to take as an official play Niners minus 6.5. Um, Before I start typing, I need to get on my soapbox here. I am desperately trying to find a new quarterback that is not Kirk Cousins in one of my fantasy leagues without Justin Jefferson. I mean, he struggled versus, as you said, a bad Bears team. They barely pulled it out. I mean, he has no choice but to look for other options. And I think that Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne are good, but I think that Justin Jefferson being as elite as he is, it just makes things so much more difficult about with Kirk Cousins. And you know what I think I'm actually going to do? I think I'm going to do a player prop as well. Can you do me a solid and scroll back up to Kirk Cousins? I'm just going to take a big dump on him today. The passing yards, por favor. Kirk Cousins over 232. That's actually a really good line. But I think that I'm going to take his under. I think
238.5.
Yeah, 238.5. I'm going to do the Cousins under as an official play and Niners minus 6.5 as
Oh,
my.
no, you're right. I'm sorry. That was passing and rushing yards. So, yeah, 232.5 is his. So he's supposed to have 6 rushing yards.
Yeah. Well, I'm taking both of them. I don't
Okay.
I don't believe in Kirk Cousins at all. I have been in my league. Please, someone give me your backup. I'll give you someone. We can work something out. No one wants him. And I understand why. It's tough. And I really don't know what I'm going to do. Jimmy G's also out, so I need to really look at that waiver wire and see what's going on. But yeah, those are my official plays for this game.
Yeah, and I don't blame. I mean, I love Kirk Cousins. I think he's a great person on and off the field, and I feel bad that he has
I
to
do
go.
too. I do too.
And he has to go through this. But with that being said, we got to take advantage, at least with profits, if they're going to be bad, and they are, and they're not winning this game. So with that, I'm taking first. We'll go back here so people can see. I'm taking a two-team teaser as well in this game. So Ethan, you have the Niners spread. I'm gonna tease them down. So we're big Niners fans in this game. I'm going from 6.5 to -0.5. So they just got to win. Two-team teaser, 6 points, and I'm also taking the under of 50. So under 50 and Niners -0.5. I think the Niners are going to play their style of football. Also, a little concerned with their injuries. So I'm not liking a ton of points being scored. You talked about how bad Cousins, what's at his disposal? Not a lot of weapons.
No.
When we've been talking about this game so far, nothing has pointed us to points being scored. So give me the under 50 and the Niners minus that 2-team teaser. But the one prop that I will take that goes back to offense and is a positive for the Vikings, hopefully, for me and the Vikings. I'm going to take Jordan Addison over 48.5 receiving yards. Cousins has to throw to somebody. He's not
Right.
going to throw the rocks. I mean, he's throwing
Right.
to some receiver. I'm going over 48.5 on Jordan Addison. I think he's really the only viable option in
Yeah.
the Vikings receiving core right now with
Mhm.
Jefferson being out. Madison obviously could get some dump offs as well, and Osborne, but Osborne, as you can see, I mean, I know the game's on Monday night. Osborne's line's not even on here. I really like Addison to be the guy that gets a majority of the targets in this game.
He
Over
really doesn't have
48.
a choice.
No,
There's no choice. There's no choice unless the Lions have the Vikings have like a historically bad offensive night. I mean, it's like X marks the spot and the X is 50 feet big. It's like you got to go to him. There you have no choice.
I agree. So those are my official plays in this game. You're on the Niners minus 6.5. And you know, that should wrap up our betting picks for this week. Ethan, I mean, I don't we're doing this week. We're having a good week. Both of us. We're doing well. It starts tonight. Let's remind the viewers for us what we're sweating before we go tonight's game. What are our plays for Thursday Night Football?
So for you, you just have a Saints -2 with the teaser of Jacksonville with the 7-point teaser and the 47-point under.
Okay.
Those are your picks. I'm staying away. You said it when we started the podcast. This is the definition of a mids game,
Yeah.
and I don't really like betting on mids games because it like kind of like one of the games we were talking about earlier. I think it was the Chargers game. It's just tough to know what's going to happen with mids games. It's tough to really point it out. It could be sloppy offensively.
Yeah.
So yeah, but those are our picks. Saints -2, and then your teaser with the Jags at 7 and the 47-point under.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, and I was looking before the show, Ethan. I was looking at the slate. We had our work cut out for us this week. 6
Mhm.
teams in the NFL being on bye, so that is a lot of teams. Looked at the slate, not a lot of great games
No.
in in my opinion. I don't think in anyone's opinion, but I think we did a good job of targeting the games that are good and that most people will bet on for this week. So hopefully we hit our picks. But again, if it's not there, stay away. You don't have to be degens like us. You don't have to bet every game on the board. But again, you can, and it's fun and it's sweaty. But final thoughts before we go, Ethan. Another fun show. Why don't maybe also you plug our social medias because you've done a great job with them.
It's all, thank you very much. Instagram, we're actually looking to get that changed because we started off with an Instagram account and then we flipped to another. So right now, Instagram is where we have the most of an audience so far. PureDegeneracy.podcast. Please give it a follow. It's where we post all of our cash picks. And then our YouTube, of course, is just the Pure Degeneracy podcast. Same with our TikTok. TikTok, brand new, not that much of a TikTok user, but we're going to get on it. We're going to try our best. We're going to work hard at building an audience on there. So if you like what you see, win or lose, we hope that we can bring out some entertaining content for you guys. That's always the goal. Give us a follow.
Yeah, please do. Make sure to like and subscribe the video as well. And some good, exciting things coming up on next week's show as well. Might have a
Yeah.
special guest, content strategist, you could call him. We might have him on, our one of our buddies. So we'll see. Exciting times. And please hit the like, hit the follow button, and promote our social medias. We're here for you, and we're here to hopefully make some money. So with that, Wine Locks, E-Dubs, Glick's Picks, Adam Glick 39. We're signing off. Enjoy the football slate, and hopefully we see you next week with some money in our pockets.